Tung third. King Lloyd Lion, fellow members, and Happy Dollar. I'm headed north to go see the daughter of the grand dog, and Yay. Lakewood, Washington, right by McCord Air Force Base. 10 o'clock every night. I'm here to pass from McCord. Thank you.
And I'm going to California tomorrow, and I'm not paying a buck for that.
Some people and their entitlements, huh? Mr. Skip.
President Lloyd, fellow Lions, yes, I have a happy dollar. Went up to wish my daughter a wonderful happy birthday yesterday as they got on the plane to Hawaii for a week, and as we drove home with her 3 dogs that we're going to watch.
Okay.
Instead of a slow boat to China, I'm looking for a slow boat to Hawaii.
Man. I'd have traded. How about Landmark?
How about? My hero.
President Lloyd, fellow Lions and guests, $5 today. When I was young, I didn't really understand the adage of the Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times. I could use a little less interesting time. So I'm very happy to be able to come to this group of wonderful Lions.
We're happy you're here too. Here I come, Mr. Ken Botero.
Nice hand. Got a nice hand.
You want this? How long you been talk for?
15 minutes.
King Ryan Lloyd, fellow Lions and guests, I got several happy dollars. First happy dollar, it's a pleasure to really sit in the presence of somebody that just left the Mormon Tabernacle Choir to lead us in our song today. Leroy, thank you.
What's that? I'm curious. So what's the 16th of?
Had a great experience this past week. I had a good visit with an old-time lineman that we have. Haven't seen him for a long time, and we're really
Who was it? Can't remember his
You're
name.
gonna have to shoot me. I'm having a senior day. I thought my sister was with me today, and I can't think of her name. John, who is it? Sam Wardle. He's in Hawaii this week, so look forward to it. The last happy butt is I am really excited. My lovely wife and I will be able to go to Leavenworth all next week to see some plays.
Yes, so what's her
And
name?
go for it. Is for what a privilege to sit in the presence of past Senator Dean Taco.
That sounds like something we Wait a minute, Marty, I got a question. Where are you guys really going next week?
King Lion, fellow Lions, as president of the Early Bird Club, I was really came here so I could harass Skip for not paying us for our club doing the parking, which we've done over the past few years, and I was going to tell him we'll be damned if we'll do it next year. But he claims that the check is in the mail, so I'm going to waive the 1% per month interest charge and just put it here in the pot.
Wasn't it 3 years we screwed the Kiwanis out of their money for parking? Yeah, I think it was 3 years. But nobody does it. I know. I know.
Then why don't you volunteer to let people come into your beer garden for free?
Socialism's good and well in Longview, Washington. Hey, Vern, what's going on here? You two? Hey, if you're not going to throw a buck in, you need to be quiet. Good job, Pat.
King Lion Lloyd, fellow Lions and guests, happy dollar for my youngest daughter and her husband, Mark. They had their first child last Thursday.
Oh, we just thought you were trafficking children again, Bert. That's all. Hey, Jim, how are you, man?
King Lion Lloyd, fellow Lions and guests, just $1. I'm happy because I've got food for the next 7 days. They brought me a free bag of caramel corn.
Leroy, you guys know the drums have exactly one note, right? Everybody want to do it? There it is. Here, that's it.
Oh, I have a whole bunch more. Okay, I'll make this $2 then. The first one is going to be kind of a President Lloyd, fellow Lions and guests. My first dollar is going to be, yeah, we tried. Kind of a story. A couple months ago, my wife told me to put it on my calendar, block off some dates so that I was not going to be doing anything. She told me she wasn't going to tell me why not to ask. And so I happened to ask, because she said it wasn't worth anything other than don't get my hopes up for anything, just take the time off. Anyway, so I'm a big fan of Disneyland. I love going down there, and I've been talking about going to Disneyland ever since it opened up. But my family also thinks that when we go, they've got to go, which that's no fun. And so I've been talking about trying. It's inexpensive, yeah, because Dad pays for it. So anyway, yesterday I come home and my wife and my daughter are sitting there, and I haven't focused on anything. I just got back from work, and they started giggling about something, and my daughter's making weird head movements. And anyway, there was a sign on the end table that said 10 days until Disney. So I get to go to Disneyland, and next week we're leaving for Disneyland, and going to be staying down there for 5-day pass hopper or whatever they call it, and just have a good time. So glad to do that. I love going there. So there's $1. That's all you get. Second dollar is
Okay, I'll synopsize that. Leroy's a little upset that he's out $7,000 in about 10 days.
In about 10 days. Right. So just a little bit of fun. I don't know the ages of you old people that are here, but I play in a band that just got started with, and they've been around for a while, and we are playing for Ari Long's Class of 72 50th class reunion this Saturday night over at the Moose. So if there's anybody from the Class of 72 for Ari Long, hope you're there, and if there's nobody here, then you missed out.
1872.
Yeah, 1872.
Ken Matero put in extra money to say hi to Dennis?
And so I just took all of that and used it to save my story.
Hey, Lloyd, did you ever wonder if you had control? Fine job.
President Lloyd, fellow Lions and guests, I have some good news and some good news. The first good news is Thursday I'll be down at Kaiser and Portland Interstate getting hearing aids fitted, so I'll be able to hear all your mutterings. And hopefully we'll never say what to my wife again, which is all I ever say to her right now for some reason. That's $1. And I hope that is a happy dollar, Jim. I don't know yet, but I'll let you know. The second happy dollar is in memory of our narcoleptic past president, George Brackett. I'm just happy.
So, okay, how many people don't know what narcolepsy is? Where you fall asleep just in a minute's notice. So, if anybody has narcolepsy or would like to, Terry's about to speak. It's good time.
Oh,
King Line Mowing Fellow Lions and Guests. I've got a couple of happy dollars. Nice shirt. It's not pink, so but what can you say?
You're blushing.
Yeah, it looks like
Wash it with your socks, huh?
this is my Go Cougs. Let me see my underwear. Yeah. All right. At any rate, what was I going to say now? Oh, I went up to my son's house this weekend and celebrated birthdays for my family. We have a ton of them during August. My grandson turned 24 on the 13th. My oldest one, thank God. My youngest one turns 4 today. My granddaughter turns 13 in the 19th. And let's see, there's one more in there. Oh, it's mine on it. Mine was yesterday.
Oh, challenge accepted. Happy birthday to you. Lovely. It just makes you want, what? You're pointing. Oh, we'll do that then. We have a phone go up. Well, past president, I'll be back in just a minute, but I gotta get $1 from the past senator. Did you?
Did you hear it, Rick?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you see, I've got tinnitus, so I hear it ring all the time. Everybody get out of buck. What was the ring? Oh, I thought it was an F. I thought it was an F. G? Could have been a G sharp. Could have been. Yeah. Past President Tom.
President Leroy.
He's living way in the past.
Anyway, I was just going to say that I missed last week because I had tickets to the Mariners game. The 13-inning game that they won was awesome.
Right on. Right on. Lion great. President Lion tell Lions to guess. That singing that everybody did for Woody, I thought we had a whole room full of howls. Owls. Okay, I don't know if this is a happy dollar or not. Damn sink in the kitchen, the faucet, he was only 30 years old. But kapooey. Oh, my wife and I went to Lowe's and got a new one, and I put that in. You know how hard it is to crawl under that damn counter and then get back up on your feet? Yuck. Okay, we were going to give you a discount on the first one, but that second one, that's about it. So while she's taking care of that, President White, here's my 5 happy bucks. I've spent the last 9 days on the road with my lovely lady, Jerry. We've traveled from McMinnville to Bellingham, visiting the stores that she's in charge of. And long story short, I can tell you, yeah, most of the time. I can tell you this, the new color of tarp that people are using in Central Oregon on the off-ramps is a green. So green is the new tarp color for the transients down there. In Bellingham, there are none. And when I say none, I mean there is not anybody parked on the side of the road trying to sleep in a tent. You know why?
They're all students.
Because they have free dorms. Yeah, they get free dorms. So ended up hanging out with a young lion, Sam. He is a salesperson at Brainerd Dodge, Bellingham Dodge, Brainerd. You know, selling cars. So he's been on probation. and the guy that runs the place got a very systematic way of bringing kids on to be car salespeople. It's really quite interesting. A real system. 90 days of just watching and conversing and kind of, getting a feel of what's going on. So Sam hits day 91, sells 3 cars. Day 93 sells 2 cars. Day 95 sold 2 cars. And yesterday was Monday, he sold 2 cars. So we're kind of proud of the way that young Master Sam has developed into a salesman. So, yeah, we're all pretty happy. We're all pretty happy. Let's see. Mr. Stonehill, how are you? Things well? Things well? Okay, well, okay. Here you go.
President Lloyd, AKA Leroy. Fellow Lions and friends, I wasn't going to say anything. I get $5 and not say anything, but it was really difficult. The happy birthday song wasn't the worst song that occurred today. The great irony is Leroy led us in the initial song, and then, wow, and then he invites us to him performing music. Really. The other comment I've got is that you give Ken a little Mexican food, and Dean Taco becomes Dean Taco. I'm not sure where that came from. That's all I've got to say.
Let's go to Chair Al.
Thank you. Let me see. It is President Lloyd, not past President Leroy, right? Fellow Lions and guests, the first happy dollar is just a correction for Mr. Botero. When you serve as a senator in the state of Washington, you are a senator for life. So he's not an ex-senator. He's a former senator. Just a little thing you should know about. Second thing.
Why do you know that?
Why do I know that? I don't know. I got this red book on a job I had on Monday, and it's in the red book. The second happy dollar is you will not be seeing me next week. Because I will be on another sailing trip, hopefully with one with the engine works the entire trip.
So we're going to pre-borrow a tugboat that we can drag it back home with and just get one strategic parts up and down the river. All right. Hi, Kurt. How you been? I haven't seen you since you had hair.
He was here last week.
He was here last week.
And you weren't.
King Lion Lloyd, fellow Lions, yes, I have $5, happy dollars, and it is because, I'm giving that because I have $5. So the court system has changed in Calais County, and we have Zoom hearings at 11 o'clock on Tuesdays, I'm usually in those, and then I have another one at 1 o'clock on Tuesdays. And so I've been running out of my office, and I've been forgetting my wallet, but I have it today, so there's $5 for all of the dollars I missed.
Are the judges Rotarians? That's why they're on Tuesdays?
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
I thought it was because all your kids finally got out of college. Didn't you have one that lived like 8 years? Yeah. Read.
Yes, sir. President Lloyd, fellow Lions, honored guests. I guess the first thing I'll say is Tom got a little bit more, got out of being a president in time, or maybe took a big toll on him for not remembering 2 years back, not 1, 2 years back. I've got $5 heavy bucks. I just got back from a golf outing that I've been taking with a group of guys since the mid-'80s. We used to play golf 2 rounds on Wednesdays, 2 rounds on Thursdays, and 1 round on Friday. And we're down to getting through 1 round on Wednesday and 9 holes on Thursday and recovering. So that's my happy bucks. And I'm going to make a comment. A lot of people know Sue in the, and I'm going to give a little tidbit about her when we first met. I found out she was a whiskey maker. And I love her still.
Oh my goodness. And we waited for that. We did. I guess the question we have about the golfing is that do you aim for the clown's cheek or for the nose when you're golfing? President Lloyd, I think we've given you enough time. Oh, you're not quite done with your dessert. Any more happy bucks? No? Sorry, Lloyd.
Okay.
All for you, Brett.
Okay, now we turn the program over to Kurt with our guest speaker.
King Lion, Lloyd, fellow Lions and guests, gives me great pleasure to introduce today's guest speaker. And as you recall, last week I introduced Spencer Boudreau, and he gave me a 3-line bio that he was born in Longview in like 2000. He was married to Lauren and was about ready to have a baby, and he was elected to city council. That was his total bio. This is today's speaker's bio. So single space, full page but no, it's impressive. Today's speaker, he is, born and raised in Longview. He grew up here. He got a political science degree and teaching certificate from the University of Washington. He did 35 years of career teaching. He has a master's of education. He was married to his lovely wife, Chris, and they raised 3 daughters here in Longview. He served 6 4-year terms on Longview City Council. He was the mayor of Longview. He was elected to the Cowlitz County Commissioners in 2012. He has served on the Law and Justice Council, the Salmon Recovery Board, Lower Columbia CAP, 911 Communications Museum, the Regional Fish Recovery Board, and it goes on and on.
He's really old.
His dedication to this community is shown in all the things that he does. And this is one thing I'd say about today's speaker is if I was trapped on a desert island and could only have one person, it would be this gentleman today because of the great conversations we would have. We wouldn't solve world problems or answer the meaning of life, but we would come damn close.
Yeah.
And so would you give a warm welcome to Dennis Weber.
You realize how intimidating you are for somebody coming in from the outside. I have an opening comment that I really want to make, and I want to speak to you from the bottom of my heart. And that is, thank you. I don't know if you're told that often enough, but the role that this club has played in the history of this community is stellar. And not all Lions might recognize that that is what you do. You just make this community so much better. Some of you might know that I have a bit of a history with this club for a lot of different reasons. I remember as a high schooler being invited to attend a meeting and being amazed at the spitwads that flew left and right.
Hey, we can restart.
I've been told. I was also the beneficiary of a couple of grants to some extracurricular education programs when I was in high school. One was called Presidential Classroom for Young Americans, a week-long series of seminars all about the federal government. And I came home and attended the YMCA's Youth and Government program, Youth Legislature up in Olympia. And those 2 seminal events in my high school really helped set me on a course of being committed to public service. I also have fond memories of a former Lion that some of you may recall, Arnie Peterson. He was one of the reasons I was a beneficiary of some of those grants way back in 1970. But in addition to that, one of my regrets is that I was always forced to say no when he invited me to join this club. As a teacher, I get 30 minutes for lunch, and that's passage time to and from the classroom. Can't do it and have a noon club, so I wasn't able to help him out on that. His daughter Nancy, for those of you who may remember, was the very first campaign treasurer for my campaign back in 1979, the first time I ran for city council. And his grandson Steve was in my very first class at RA Long. So I feel a connection with y'all. You've also invited me probably a half a dozen times. And since you don't remember any of those speeches, I know they weren't very memorable, but that's the way it goes.
That was you?
I do want to acknowledge some of my good friends who are here in this club who were on the Longview City Council with me. We talk about public service, and oftentimes it's identified with the speaker or the office holder. But my experience has been that any of the successes that we had was due to teamwork, that all of us had to work together and complement each other's strengths and nurture each other's goals. And we all want the same thing, that is a better Longview, if you're on the city council, a better county. And so I just certainly want to acknowledge Hal Palmer, one of my closest friends, the first time I was on the city council. We spent quite a few hours in the lounge at the Hotel Monticello back in the day, before public meeting laws were as strict as they are today. George Rader, of course, and Kurt Anagnostou. He and I actually swapped mayor's jobs a couple of times, I think. And of course, I can't forget Ken Botero. Good to see you. I haven't seen Ken for a long time. One of the little projects that brought me into connection with this club involved John Claypool, who tracked me down one time to have a nice philosophical discussion. Actually, he was complaining about the city's support for Christmas lights at the island. I think it was maybe year 30 or something, and it was getting, they were old, and they were the old-fashioned lights. And one of the things that I feel really good about was working to use the interest earnings from the Coons Fund to replace those lights with LED bulbs, which of course have been spectacular ever since. So again, thank you, John, for browbeating me to do what you wanted me to do, and the community is much better off for that. And then, of course, there's one of my best friends, the one who did promise spitballs. I hope I can catch it before it hits me in the forehead. That's Skip Mesger. The less said about him, probably the best for all of us concerned. So I was asked to talk a little bit about the Longview Centennial. It is an organization that has been meeting on a pretty regular basis for about 6 months. The chair is Reed Hadley, and his able assistant is Arlene Hubble. And if you know Arlene, you know that she's running the show. But don't tell Reed, he might be offended. A pretty impressive list of community activists, longtime members, a few young people. Spencer Boudreau was mentioned, and he's involved. And they have been planning all kinds of events. The city has given them some resources, but they're not done planning, and there are plenty of opportunities for volunteers to join them, to contribute. It really is a volunteer organization. The symbol, the graphic, the logo is their logo that they designed, or had designed. They had a contest, and this was the winning design. So you'll probably be seeing this in increasing frequency in publications and books and advertising and so on. So if you want to get involved with the Centennial, go to the website right now. It's actually a pretty well done a website, and it's easy to remember, longview100.org, and you'll come up with their website, has the lists and the things, a little bit of the history, a timeline for the community, very, very professional, very well done, and the Gmail access for those, and contributions are definitely accepted. P.O. Box 1035. So some of the events that have been planned so far, rely on our historic Columbia Theater. The Southwest Washington Symphony Orchestra is having their winter concert in February focused on music of the 1920s. And it's just going to be fantastic, although I have to be careful about saying that because I play the violin in the symphony, my wife is a clarinetist, and we surely enjoy that wonderful opportunity to make music. That's in February. The next month, in March, Cabaret comes to town, and they've promised that they're specifically going to be tailored to stories about Longview. Some true, probably some not so true. It's got to be interesting and lively. So mark that date down on your calendar. At the end of June, the Columbia River Reader will have their red carpet gala, also at the Columbia Theater. If you have been reading the Columbia River Reader, you know that they've begun their series focusing on now and then, taking a group of leaders from the founding years, talking about them, writing them up, and then picking current leaders that in some way or other are kind of similar in their position and showing how things have changed and how things haven't changed over the 100 years. They're going to be assembling that into a book, and the goal is to give one of those books of Longview's history to every graduating senior in the class of 2023. So that's going to be kind of a neat fundraiser and a neat project to work on. The next one is the Centennial Car Show, which I notice isn't really going to be a Centennial Car Show because they'll even accept cars from the 50s. But at any rate, it should be a great program. There are an awful lot of car aficionados in this community, and it'll be neat to see them coming about. The next one, again, is familiar. The Go Forth is going to have a centennial theme. And I understand that the Grand Marshal of the parade might very well be one of the members of your club. Is that right? You're willing to be the Grand Marshal for our centennial parade? Jim?
Oh. The one that looks like our lawn.
Okay, next.
Longview, Texas.
Yeah. Next one. Go ahead. Okay. So the one area that they're still trying to come up with some details, and this may be an opportunity for this club to get involved if you want to, and that is an event for Labor Day. We usually don't, it's been a long time since we've had a real community celebration over Labor Day weekend. So they're trying to decide if there's interest and support to putting something together. And one club keeps coming up as being the go-to people for excellent beer gardens and spirits of Longview. And the idea is, and actually my assignment today was to make the formal request that you all consider maybe adding that to your list of activities next year as your contribution to the centennial. Of course, I do have to understand, I know enough about Longview's history that a beer garden, beer and wine probably isn't the choice Mr. Long would make, since he was a teetotaler, but you know, that was then, this is now, and things are a little bit different. So the committee is off and running, and they're dedicated to making this a centennial that will be memorable for everyone involved. The interesting thing is, though, I'm not that involved with the centennial. I've gone to a couple of meetings, and I was pleasantly surprised that Kurt asked if I would talk about the centennial. So I checked in with Reed, and he said, well, here's the things to say. So this has all been at Reed Hadley's response. Kurt also said, yeah, you might want to talk a little bit about the county. So I've got some things to share with you about Cowlitz County. In 2020, we had a census, and we have hit a pretty impressive population, 112,000, give or take a few. It turns out that growth rate is at about 0.7% per year. Not a whole lot. It's a good thing, because if we grow too fast in a decade, if we grow more than 17% in one decade, the Palmer Rule kicks in. And the Palmer Rule was the quintessential legislative achievement of former Senator Hal Palmer who said, if you don't hit 17% in a decade, you don't have to follow the very onerous growth management planning requirements from the state of Washington. So I look at the statistics on our population growth, and I thank Hal for the rule, because life is a lot more complicated. All you have to do is talk to somebody from Woodland, and they are going crazy. Woodland has about 90 people who actually live in Clark County, which is a GMA planning county. The rules are part of your city, the whole city has to organize. And so there's been some conflict between our planning guidelines, which are more encouraging to growth, and their planning guidelines, which are much more restrictive. So it's an interesting dilemma. The only city in the state of Washington with that challenge, unfortunately. The state of Washington's growth rate is at about 1.4%. And the only area that hit that growth rate in Cowlitz County was Woodland. They have been growing, you know, the crossover from Clark County as people try to get out of the big urban area. Our average family income is still considerably below that of the state's average, about 30% below the state average. That's always a challenge. The good side of our economic picture is, at long last, our unemployment rate is not worse than the state. Typically for years it has been. It's all at about 3%, which is record low for the state as well as for Cowlitz County. We are increasingly becoming a bedroom community. And part of that is, so people are coming into Cowlitz County for jobs, and it's typically jobs that require a high skill level, oftentimes related to college degrees. Cowlitz County has about 15% of the adults who actually have a 4-year college degree. We've got a lot of new jobs in the medical field, particularly, that require more training than we typically have. So those folks are coming in. But we also have a lot of folks who live here and commute out of Cowlitz County for jobs, typically in the Clark County area. So that's an interesting dilemma, because our tax revenues depend upon healthy business paying a share of those finances. So we always keep our mind open on how we can attract additional businesses. So the Cowlitz Economic Development Council is continuing to promote Cowlitz County as a fantastic place for investment opportunities. But quite often, in discussing people who have money to invest in development, they say, but will the state of Washington allow us to develop? And that continues to be an albatross around our necks in terms of economic development. Time and time again, that is being raised. It continues. Two major developments that were turned down by the state that had a great potential for Cowlitz County was both the methanol plant in Kalama, a $2 billion potential increase in property values, and that, of course, is compared to only $10 billion for the entire county right now. And so could have been a substantial increase. Governor Inslee actually came down. Some of us attended a speech he gave in support of the methanol plant. And I remember pointing out to somebody while he was talking, a coal train was going by the railroad tracks, kind of drowning out his speech. We kind of chuckled at it, but I have a feeling he remembered and resented it, because of course his action turned down the application for building the dock for exporting coal from here. Sadly, the result is that our environment is actually worse now than it was before he made that decision in order to protect the environment. Because you see, the coal trains are still coming through Cowlitz County, and they're heading up through the Puget Sound region all the way to Vancouver, BC. So through the most congested area, 2 or 3 day longer trip on diesel fuel being exhaust. And in addition, the ships going out of Vancouver traverse Straits of Juan de Fuca, the major migrating route for the killer whales they're trying to save. Unintended consequences. Am I bitter? Let's move on. I want to talk a little bit about the annual budget for Cowlitz County. It's roughly $250 million. Big chunk of that comes from property taxes we all pay. The thing to remember as you get your property assessments is that property taxes cannot grow more than 1% a year. That's this cap, unless you have new construction, and then there's some adjustment on that. So if your house goes up in value, the property tax can only go up 1%, your rate will be adjusted, and we anticipate that happening this next year because rumor has it a few of us have had pretty hefty increases in property values. So it'll all be adjusted out. The general fund gets about $20 million a year from property taxes. The road fund, that's the extra property tax paid by people outside the city limits, that collects about $10 million a year that we use to maintain and expand and improve our roads. Sales tax is another key revenue source for us. Depending on where you live, you pay different rates. Cowlitz County keeps about $20 million a year from various property sales taxes that we have for our general fund. Of course, the biggest amount of sales tax goes to the state of Washington. Cowlitz County can only collect 15% of the sales tax paid within incorporated cities. They get the other 85%. And it's important for their revenues as well. And then there are a couple of special voter-approved sales taxes that are also collected if 911, for example, and then if you live within the transportation benefit area, River City Transit gets sales tax. That as well. Cowlitz County also operates a few utilities. Typically utilities are city functions, but we have a few water and sewer plants out in unincorporated areas like Riderwood and Tootle, Ostrander. The big utility though is the landfill, and between those utilities we collect about $50 million from there. State grants and federal grants for public health and transportation comes to about $100 million a year. And about half of that has been coming into us the last several years with the federal government's hopes to protect us from COVID, to help resolve economic tragedies that occurred because of COVID, to rebuild the economy that kind of collapsed because of COVID. Almost half of that has come from COVID relief and ARPA funds. And I've been doing this most of 50 years. I've never been in a situation where the federal government is giving us more money than we're using. We still have, there's a lot of money that has come to us. Having said that, I'm pretty confident we'll figure out a way to spend it. But it is incredible. And we're trying to avoid hiring staff because those are long-term costs. You don't want, these grants are going to go away. So one of the things we've talked about is looking for opportunities to do the old CCC improvements for parks and recreation so that succeeding generations can continue to enjoy the benefits of this money that's available on a one-time only. Interestingly, we have been successful in maintaining 16.4% reserves for our operating expenses. That's just a very healthy. I mean, we have a policy that says 8.2%. We're able to do 2 months reserves. And our FTEs, our employment, is still below the level it was prior to the Great Recession in the late in 2008, 2009. However, if you've read articles, if you've talked to county employees, you will hear them probably complaining about the office air quality. Heating, cooling has been horrible because of, quite frankly, 10 years of delayed, 12 years, 14 years, delayed maintenance, and the equipment is falling apart. So we're addressing that, but it is more expensive than had we done it before. So just a couple of challenges we have facing us. Obviously maintaining roads and bridges from emergencies. We're struggling to get a temporary fix for the Tower Road that blew out last January. We've got a plan to get it back in shape, but we've discovered that the state WDFW said, ooh, now there's another salmon-bearing stream we can open up. So the repairs are going to be a lot more complicated. Law and Justice departments, the jail, the courts, the Anagnostu Legal Defense Fund, that takes up to about 70% of the general fund revenues. The state authorities have been recommending for a number of years that we need a 6th Superior Court judge. We have that kind of a backlog. And of course, if there's a backlog in the courts, it's the civil cases that don't get resolved very quickly. And the civil cases are the ones that really affect kids the most. Their families are in turmoil, and there's no resolution to it. And it continues to be a source. But a whole new courtroom is expensive, and so we have to be looking at that very carefully. We've had a huge backlog artificially because of some decisions by the courts, and we've had to go back to 1971 and free all the prisoners convicted of drug possession laws and repay their fines because of one of the Supreme Court decisions called Blake. We're working our way through the caseload, and we'll get it figured out. Mount St. Helens sediment, not surprisingly, is continuing to come down the valley. We had been under the assumption the federal government was watching out for it, but in 2014, a bureaucrat in Washington, D.C. said, "Why are we still monitoring sediment from Mount St. Helens?" That happened in 1980, and he cut the funding. And so for about 3 years, it wasn't being monitored. And it was just at the time when the big sediment retention dam was filled up. And so there's even more sediment coming down. We've worked on it. I've learned a lot about lobbying and going back to Washington, D.C., and we got that money restored. We actually found that bureaucrat and convinced it to change his mind. Photos of sandbars in the Cowles River were pretty powerful in that. Olympia seems to continue to handcuff our law enforcement officials on who they can arrest, when they can arrest, how quickly they can be held overnight, and it's noticeable. We're not able to keep them in jail as long as they need to be, and can't get them processed, and it's been frustrating all the way around. And then, of course, probably the most difficult public policy issue I've ever had to deal with, and that is getting a handle on the handful of people who have such barriers to to living inside homes. They can't figure out how to live inside. And so they usually have mental illnesses, and it's a lot easier to medicate if you go 2 tenths down and get drugs from it's out of control. The place needs to be shut down at Alabama Street. 90% of the people who lose their homes get the help they need. In Community House on Broadway, Women's Support Shelter, Salvation Army, we have tremendous programs helping people with their homelessness. But there's this handful of people, and then they get victimized by scofflaws who aren't really homeless. They have really good organizational skills, because did you know all the panhandlers are all connected to the encampment? They're assigned those intersections. It's part of the revenue stream. A lot of things have to be changed. We're working with the city of Longview. It's kind of in their ballpark right now, and try to bring that to an end. We're hoping we'll get a good positive signal within the next couple of weeks. So I've talked way too long, and I'm sorry for that. I would be glad to entertain any questions that you have. I don't know how much more time we have, but
Can you stay up?
I can certainly stay up, although I do have a 1:30 meeting.
We'll hold it past.
Okay. Again, you guys have been awesome. Thank you so much. And it may sound a little trite, but it has been it's been my honor to serve this community all these years. Thank you.
On behalf of the Lions Club, I want to give you this mug and an application to...
Awesome. Thank you so much.
And appoint some Lions judges.
All right. Moving along, we got the blue ticket. We will.
Shaking it up today.
Blue ticket, 355348.
Oh, okay. Jerry Smith right behind you.
Okay, the red ticket, 477-6569.
Oh, Jim Stoney?
Jim's got it? Nope.
Oh, no, no. 477-669.
477-6569.
Oh, okay, Jim. Jim's got it.
President Lloyd, not Leroy, Lloyd. Okay, President Lloyd, fellow members and guests, this is going to be a busy weekend for us. We have Squirrel Fest, and we have over at Right Line, and the people that sign up for Right Line on Saturday, I'd like for you to be there at 5 o'clock, if not sooner. And I think we still got gas. We got, we got lots of gas. We got a sign-up sheet over here on the table, so please sign up. And we'll have the old chuck wagon is going to be over at the Squirrel Fest. The new one's going to be at Right Line. So it's going to be a busy weekend at the Expo Center. Yeah.
Cindy has an announcement.
Cindy? Oh, Cindy. Oh, my cousin Cindy.
President Lloyd, members and guests, we have a picnic coming up to celebrate, to relax from all of our work. So the new chuck wagon will be there serving hamburgers, hot dogs, pop, and chips. And it's a potluck, so you can bring the salads and desserts. And there'll be games. And the sign-up sheet's over there, so we can have a head count. Hope you can bring your family, friends. You know, August 28th. It's a Sunday, 1 o'clock.
Gracias.
I forgot to mention, we're moving over Squirrel Fest on Friday. Great. And at Right Line, they told us we could move in on Friday at 6 o'clock. So anyway, we got set up and stuff on Friday.
They changed it all.
Cool.
How?
Yes.
President Lloyd, fellow Lions and guests, it is my distinct honor to present a progressive Melvin Joan pin to my USC buddy, Jim Waters. I want to thank you for your support of Lions Club International Foundation. Jim, from the beginning, when I was LCIF club coordinator, was right there, and every year since. Thank you again.
Good guy.
Greg Burt?
President Tom Phil, there's Tom, Lloyd, Phil Lions, yeah.
Been called everything.
This is Leroy. Leroy, I've joined your club. Got a few quick announcements. Number one, I've got membership apps with me here. Last year we did United Way Day of Caring, and it about beat the crap out of us. There were 10 of us that pulled weeds for like 6 hours. This year I've got a very easy job for us. Us old guys can do it. Now, you'll have more information coming on that. After the meeting, those that are going up to the convention in Penticton in October, we have a real quick meeting over here, go over just a couple things. And the last thing on my list, our club is celebrating 100 years next year too.
President Lloyd, fellow Lions and guests. September 13th, we are having our sock hop bath this year. It's going to be at the Elks from 6 to 9.
I don't have the tickets yet. Hopefully they're gonna be done soon. And then when I have the tickets, I will be getting them out. Hopefully by next Tuesday, I'll have them so you guys can buy them and get them out to your friends and invite everybody.
She had the tickets at 11:58.
No. Michelle's having for a week. Woo-hoo.
All right, that's about it from here.